You want to know when he realizes what he lost? Not when you're crying over him, not when you're begging him to change, but the moment you stop looking back. The moment your smile no longer includes his name. That's when he texts, "I miss you." But by then, you're already gone. Let me say this loud and clear for the woman who keeps asking, will he ever miss me? Yes, he will. But not when you're stuck replaying old messages. Not when you're stalking his new girl's Instagram. Not when you keep giving him second chances after red flags turned into red carpets. He'll miss you when the energy shifts. When the silence becomes louder than your tears. When you stop caring, not because you're heartless, but because you finally chose you. That "I miss you" text, it's not love. It's his ego realizing you've outgrown the version of you that tolerated his indecision. It's not because he woke up one day and finally saw your worth. It's because you stopped handing it to him on a silver platter. This isn't about revenge. This is about elevation. You moved on. You healed. You glowed up. And now, he's watching from the sidelines of a game he thought he'd always win. You don't have to block his number, scream at him, or post long quotes about moving on to make a man realize he lost you. Sometimes, all it takes is a shift in energy. Not anger, not chaos, but calm. That peaceful silence that wraps around your soul when you finally let go of someone who couldn't see your worth. That's what hits the hardest. Men feel it. They may not always say it, but they feel when your energy no longer leans into them. When your texts go from paragraphs to one-liners. When your calls stop coming in like clockwork. When your good morning texts disappear and your name stops lighting up their phone. At first they think you're just having a mood. They believe you'll come back around, like always. But then a few days turn into weeks. Weeks into months. And suddenly, that woman who used to pour her whole heart into loving him is gone. Not physically. You may still be in the same city. You might even still follow him. But you're no longer available energetically. And that, my sister, is what flips the switch. It's like when a light goes out in a room you've always known. You may have taken it for granted until it flickers one final time. And now the room feels colder, emptier, unfamiliar. That's what your absence does to him. Not your words, your absence. Your withdrawal of emotional currency. Think of it like this. A plant can't survive without water. And you were watering him with love, loyalty, presence, effort. Every single day. Even when he didn't deserve it. Even when he gave you scraps. But the day you stop watering, the leaves start to wither. And he finally notices the drought when it's too late. That's the power of energy. A woman's energy is not something a man can replace overnight. Sure, he may distract himself. He might run into the arms of another woman. He may post stories, act unbothered, go silent himself. But he knows, deep down, he knows something is different. The woman who used to answer on the first ring doesn't reply at all now. The woman who used to fight to stay has now chosen peace. And men feel that shift like a storm passing through a quiet city. It's in the way you stop trying to explain yourself. You stop over-explaining why you're hurt. You stop chasing clarity from someone who never gave it. You stop begging for attention. You stop checking his last scene. You stop being available at his convenience. You stop being his cushion every time he falls. And suddenly, he feels something's off. Not because you made a scene, but because you made a decision. You want an everyday example? Think about your favorite coffee shop. You go every day. You never truly notice the barista's smile, the way they remember your order, the comfort of the atmosphere, until one day, it's closed. No announcement, just gone. Now you're standing there confused, missing something you didn't fully appreciate. That's how he feels when your love disappears. Not violently, but quietly. When you stop being his safe space, his emotional coffee shop, he suddenly feels the void. And that's when he sends the "I miss you" text. Not when you were crying, not when you were explaining yourself over and over, but when your silence started speaking for you. Not the kind of silence that begs for attention, but the kind that screams, "I finally healed." And that is what he can never unfeel. When a man says, "I miss you," your heart may skip a beat. Your mind might race back to those late night conversations, your favorite songs together, the way he used to hold you when words weren't enough. But pause, breathe, and ask yourself, what exactly does he miss? Because most times, that "I miss you" isn't rooted in love. It's rooted in access. Access to you, to your heart, to your attention, to the comfort of knowing that someone out there still cared deeply for him. You see, some men don't truly value the relationship. They value the convenience. They don't miss the depth of your soul. They miss the security blanket of knowing you were always there. They don't miss your laughter because they adored you. They miss it because it echoed in their ears when no one else was clapping for them. Yeah. You see, some men don't truly value the relationship. They miss it because it echoed in their ears when no one else was clapping for them. Yeah? They tell you you're okay. They provide you with comfort. They help you cold a sick person. You give it them. When life hit them hard, they remembered the woman who never gave up on them. But was it love? Or was it just nostalgia for access they thought they could always return to? Imagine. The man who lost his job, he's scared the woman who controlled his mind. Let's bring this into real life. But because she always encouraged him. Not because he was the love of his life, but because she always encouraged him. Because she believed in him when no one else did. Now that he's down, he's not reaching for her because he wants to build a future. He's reaching because he misses the way her energy made him feel about himself. That's not love. That's emotional dependency. Another example, think about that one friend who only calls when they need something. When life's going great, they're ghost. But the moment they're lonely, broke, or heartbroken, they remember your number. They'll say, "I've been thinking about you," when really they've been thinking about how good it felt to have you in their corner. That's what some men do when they send that text. "I miss you" becomes code for, "I miss what you did for me. I miss the validation. I miss the comfort." But not, "I miss loving you right." And here's the catch. When a man truly misses you out of affection, he doesn't just text, he shows up, he corrects his mistakes, he apologizes with his actions, he rebuilds the trust he broke. But when it's about access, all he offers is a message. Vague, hollow, carefully worded to keep you emotionally invested without real commitment. Sometimes I miss you is just a rope tossed your way to pull you back into confusion. Because he knows you're healing. He knows you're glowing differently now. And it scares him. Not because he's losing you, but because he's losing control. Access. That's why it's dangerous to interpret I miss you as a romantic gesture. It's not always a confession. It's a strategy. A way to test the waters. To see if the door is still open. To see if you're still vulnerable enough to let him back in. If you respond, he knows he still holds space in your mind. He knows the strings are still attached. But if you don't, that's when his ego truly gets hit. In relationships, clarity is everything. A man who truly loves you won't play emotional hide and seek. He won't disappear and reappear like a pop-up ad. He will stay consistent. Because real love doesn't rely on access, it respects your boundaries. It doesn't show up at midnight with a text. It shows up daily, intentionally, with presence, peace, and purpose. You don't have to make a dramatic exit to make an unforgettable impact. You don't have to scream, cry, or write essays explaining why you're walking away. Sometimes the most powerful message you'll ever send is your transformation, your growth, your glow up. Because when you evolve into the version of yourself that no longer tolerates half love, broken promises, and emotional breadcrumbs, that speaks louder than any goodbye ever could. Let him wonder why you're suddenly unreachable. Let him question how the girl who once waited hours for his replies now doesn't even flinch when his name pops up. That silence, that peace, that confidence in your stride, it's not pride, it's progress. It's the result of tears turned into lessons, heartbreaks turned into boundaries, and pain turned into power. Glow-ups aren't just about changing your wardrobe or hitting the gym, though that doesn't hurt either. And I put the real glow-ups happen in the mindset. It's when you stop looking for closure in conversations that only wounded you deeper. It's when you stop seeking validation from people who were never qualified to define your worth. It's when you stop begging to be chosen because you've finally chosen yourself. Picture this. You used to text him every morning, check his stories, stay up late waiting for his calls. But now, you wake up early, hit the gym, journal your intentions, pray over your peace, and make money moves. You've stopped watching his life and started building your own. That's not petty. That's power. And he sees it. He may not admit it, but he feels the shift. You've become the version of you he didn't believe could exist without him. And that burns. Not because he suddenly fell in love again, but because he realizes you were never the problem. You were the potential. The one who would have stood by his side if only he didn't mistake loyalty for weakness. Every time you elevate, it echoes back to the people who thought you'd stay broken. You see, your glow up is a mirror. It reflects what he refused to cherish. When you rise, he sees what he lost. Clearly. And it eats at him. Because men remember two kinds of women. The one who destroyed their peace, or the one who destroyed their peace, and the one who built hers without him. Real life example? Think about high school reunions. You see someone you never paid attention to. Now they walk in, confident, glowing, successful, radiant. That moment sticks. You might not say it, but your mind whispers, damn, I underestimated them. That's what your glow up does to him. Without saying a single word, Your glow up changes your energy, your aura, your environment. You start attracting better friends, better opportunities, healthier love. You carry yourself differently. You don't chase, you attract. You don't beg, you bless. You don't look back, you build forward. It's not about revenge. It's not about showing off. It's about arriving at a place where your peace is louder than his games, where your healed heart is louder than his excuses, where your light is so bright, he can't even look at you without feeling the sting of what he let go. That's the glow up. Not for him, but for you. And the beauty of it, it doesn't need to be posted. It doesn't need a caption. Because real transformation speaks for itself. When you walk in your power, the world, and he will hear it without you saying a word. You spend so many nights questioning yourself, asking, was I too much? Or maybe I was too emotional, too clingy, too complicated. But here's the truth that will shift your soul. You were never hard to love. You were just trying to pour your heart into someone who didn't have the capacity to receive it. He wasn't ready. Not for the kind of love that's deep, real, and transformational. And that's not your fault. That's not your burden to carry anymore. There's a certain type of woman whose love is intense, not because she's dramatic, but because she's real. She doesn't know how to halfway care. She loves like it's the only language she's fluent in. And that kind of love, it requires a man who is emotionally secure, spiritually grounded, and mentally mature. But when she gives that love to someone who's still wrestling with his own demons, someone who only knows chaos, someone who doesn't even love himself, he will reject it, misunderstand it, or abuse it, and then try to make you believe you were the issue. But let me tell you, broken people often break beautiful things. Not because the beauty is flawed, but because they don't know how to handle something sacred. You weren't hard to love. You were just ahead of his emotional schedule. Your love was a mirror he wasn't ready to face. He looked at you and saw someone who required consistency, honesty, effort, and emotional accountability. And instead of rising to the level of your love, he ran from it. Think about a child who's handed a priceless diamond. They'll probably toss it aside and go play with something plastic. Not because the diamond is invaluable, but because they don't understand its worth. The same way he fumbled you, not because you lacked value, but because he lacked vision. You loved him with grace, you forgave his silence, you overlooked the inconsistencies, and you showed up again and again. That doesn't make you weak. That makes you rare. But when you give rare love to someone who still thinks games and ghosts are acceptable forms of communication, they will always label you too much, just to avoid admitting they're not enough. This isn't about blaming him. This is about freeing yourself from the lie that you were difficult to love. No, sis. You were just loving someone who only knew temporary connections. Someone who confused intensity with intimacy. Someone who ran at the first sign of emotional depth. And when you showed up with substance, he wasn't ready. So he deflected. He withdrew. He made you question your light instead of owning up to his shadows. Real life example? Ever tried giving a deep, thought-provoking book to someone who hasn't read in years? They'll put it down after a page, not because the book isn't good, but because they're not ready to receive it. That's what your love was. Too evolved for his level of readiness. And now that you've walked away, now that you've chosen to love yourself louder than you ever loved him, he'll realize it. Maybe not today, but he will. Because the kind of love you gave doesn't come around twice. You were never too sensitive. You were deeply aware. You were never overthinking. You were picking up on energies he tried to hide. You were never asking for too much. You were asking for the bare minimum from someone who was never ready to meet you in the middle, and you stayed longer than you should have. Not because you were desperate, but because you believed in love, in potential, in transformation. But now you know better. You see yourself clearly. You understand that your love was never the problem. It was a blessing. A blessing he wasn't ready to steward. Moving on isn't about jumping into someone else's arms. It's not about downloading dating apps just to distract your heart. It's not about proving to him that you're wanted. True moving on is about rediscovering who you are without the weight of someone else's confusion on your shoulders. You want to belong to someone else's because you thought you were part of someone else's dream. But now you know what you are and what he wanted. You were part of someone else's dream on your shoulders. You were part of someone else's dream. There's only one partner for you. Your time is up today. Your voice is now your tone. It's about standing in front of the mirror and finally recognizing the woman behind the heartbreak. The one who forgot her power while trying to fix someone else's broken pieces. Because healing doesn't start when someone new texts you good morning. It starts when you wake up and don't reach for your phone to check if he did. It starts when your peace no longer depends on whether someone else chooses you that day. It begins when you remember that the love you were looking for in someone else has been sitting quietly inside of you all along, waiting to be seen. There's a moment after the chaos, after the tears, after the overthinking, when something shifts. You go from saying, I don't know how to live without him, to saying, I can't believe I almost forgot how to live with myself. That's the rebirth. That's when moving on becomes a journey inward, not outward. You start doing things for you. You go to the coffee shop you avoided because it reminded you of your first date. You take that solo trip. You sign up for that yoga class. You start writing again, painting again, dreaming again. And the silence that used to echo loneliness now becomes sacred space, a sanctuary for your growth. Moving on is about choosing your sanity over their mixed signals, choosing your peace over their excuses, choosing yourself not because you're bitter, but because you're finally done betraying your own soul just to keep someone else comfortable. Take a look at your favorite candle. When you light it, the room glows. The atmosphere shifts. But leave it too close to something toxic and it melts unevenly, burns too fast, loses its essence. That's what you did in that relationship. You kept burning for someone who didn't even notice your light. But now, you're reclaiming your flame, lighting up your own world on your terms. Too often, society teaches us that moving on means replacing. But healing isn't a race to see who can win the breakup. It's not about who's dating first, who looks happier, or who posts the better pictures. That's ego. That's noise. Real healing is quiet, private, intentional. It's when you look at your scars and stop seeing shame and start seeing strength. It's like cleaning out a room that's been filled with clutter for years. At first it feels overwhelming. Where do you begin? But as you start removing the things that no longer serve you, old memories, expired emotions, heavy expectations, you make space. And in that space, you rediscover what you actually need, what you truly want. who you were before the pain and who you're becoming because of it. People will ask, why are you still single? As if singleness is a sickness. As if being alone is punishment. But here's the truth. You're not alone, you're aligned. With your purpose, with your healing, with your evolution. You're not looking to be saved, you're saving yourself. That's the kind of moving on that doesn't just change your relationship status, it changes your life. You begin to realize that your worth was never meant to be measured by someone else's ability to love you. That your happiness is not a puzzle piece they lost. That the closure you were waiting for isn't coming in a text, it's arriving in your transformation. And one day, without even noticing, you wake up and feel light. Not because someone else finally came along, but because you did. When he sends that "I miss you" text, your heart might flutter for a second. It's familiar, it's tempting. It makes you pause, question, remember. But you must understand, not every memory deserves a return trip. Not every whisper from the past deserves the volume turned up. That "I miss you" must become background noise, not a reason to rewind your healing. Because here's the truth. People often miss the comfort of what you gave, not who you are. They miss the way you made life easier for them, the way you forgave even when you were breaking, the way you stayed even when your soul was begging you to go. And now that you've finally walked away, now that your energy has shifted, your peace has grown louder, your silence has become strength, they feel it. And they say, "I miss you." Not always because they've changed, but because your absence is louder than your presence ever was. But just because someone says they miss you doesn't mean they deserve a space in your life again. It's not a magical phrase that undoes the neglect, the pain, the confusion. Words without change are empty. And "I miss you" is often the most manipulative kind of noise. It comes coated in nostalgia, but wrapped in the same cycles you've already broken free from. Think of it like this. Imagine you're watching a powerful movie. It's somehow past its gripping, emotional. It teaches you something about yourself, but it ends painfully. You cry, you reflect, you grow. Then a few weeks later, someone asks, "Want to watch that movie again?" Would you go back into that pain? Would you choose to relive that heartbreak knowing how it ends? That's what going back feels like. That's what pressing rewind on someone who broke you feels like. Sometimes we romanticize the past because we forget the details of the pain. We remember the highlights, the laughter, the inside jokes, but not the anxiety in your chest when he didn't reply. Not the tears on your pillow when he acted like you didn't matter. Not the emptiness after the arguments that never brought resolution. So when he texts, "I miss you," don't let your heart forget the full story. In daily life, it's like hearing your favorite song on the radio. One you used to cry to. The melody is beautiful, but now that you've healed, it doesn't hit the same. You hear it, maybe even hum along, but you don't get stuck in it. That's how his words should be background music to a life you've already outgrown. Because you've worked too hard to build your peace. You've cried yourself into clarity. You've fought battles no one saw just to reclaim your worth. So don't let one text take you back to a place you begged God to bring you out of. So don't let one potato to philosophy give you back to bad batter. That's not you. You are not a potato. You are not a lamb. You are not a dish. You are not a chip. You are not a... That "I miss you" is not a rescue rope. It's a test. a test of whether you've truly learned to choose yourself over the person who never did. He misses the access, not the accountability. He misses the warmth, not the wounds he caused. And sometimes he misses the old version of you, the one who didn't know better. But this version, the healed, wise, glowing woman you've become, she knows that missing you is not the same as cherishing you. It is a system that will not polish you nor push you away, but what will become clear. You miss a system that will not fix you nor push you away, but what will become clear. She knows. She knows that missing you is not the same as cherishing you. You can feel it. Let that message stay where it belongs, in the background. You don't need to explain, respond, or reopen what you've already closed with blood, tears, and resilience. You're not a story that needs to be reread. You're a masterpiece still being written, and his chapter ended for a reason. Let his words float in the distance like a fading echo, and keep walking in the direction of your growth. You owe no one an explanation for your evolution. You owe no apology for rising from the ashes of what tried to break you. And if he texts you, "I miss you," let those words pass through your spirit like wind through trees, felt but never held. Because you, my love, are no longer in the business of being almost chosen. You're no longer offering full course loyalty to someone who only ever brought an appetite for convenience. Let them miss you. Let them feel the absence of what they once took for granted. And let them resist being taught to find a way for themselves of what they once took for granted. But don't you dare lose yourself in trying to be remembered by someone who forgot you when you needed them most. Your glow up isn't just a new look. It's a whole new frequency. You're not here to prove your worth. You're here to walk in it. And that kind of power can't be contained in a text message, a memory, or a moment of regret from someone who failed to keep you. You're not a second chance. You are the one who got away. And there's a sacred kind of silence in that. A silence that roars louder than any apology that never came. Let them regret. Let them reflect. But you rise. Because God didn't remove them from your life to punish you. He removed them to reveal you. To remind you that the love you were pouring outward was meant to water the woman inside. The woman who put her dreams on pause just to fix someone else's chaos. The woman who kept showing up for someone who couldn't even show up for himself. And now you know. You are not hard to love. You are not too much. You are not impossible. You are a full course experience in a world of snacks. And the right person will not only appreciate your depth, they will swim in it without drowning. They won't run from your light. They'll rise to meet it. They won't say, "I'm here" when it's convenient. They'll say, "I'm here" when it matters. So walk like you've already healed. Speak like your scars are golden. Move like the crown never fell. You're not just getting over someone, you're becoming someone. And that evolution is sacred. Protect it. Celebrate it. Guard it like the kingdom it is. Because you are not the same woman who begged for clarity. You're the woman who created it. You're not the woman who waited for love. You became the love. You're not the woman who waited for love. You became the love. As the great Maya Angelou once said, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. And when they come back whispering, "I miss you," remember what you had to survive just to hear that message with a steady heart. That message isn't a door, it's a mirror. And if you look closely, you'll see the reflection of who you used to be and how far you've come since. Oprah said, "You become what you believe. So believe you are enough, even when they couldn't see it. Believe your healing is more important than their confession. Believe that moving forward isn't abandonment, it's alignment. Michelle Obama once said, when they go low, we go high. So when they try to pull you back with old words, rise higher with new standards. Keep walking, keep glowing, keep becoming. Because you didn't come this far just to come back. Let I miss you be the echo of your elevation. Let your silence speak volumes. Let your peace be louder than any text you'll ever receive. And above all, walk like the woman who finally realized she was the love she was always searching for.